Hey y'all, it's day 3 of our Romans challenge here. We're in chapter 3 of Romans. I want to read a couple highlights for you guys. Starting off in verse 5, it says, "But some might say our sinfulness serves a good purpose, for it helps people see how righteous God is. Isn't it unfair then for him to punish us? This is merely a human point of view. Of course not. If God were not entirely fair, how would he be qualified to judge the world? But someone might still argue, how can God condemn me as a sinner if my dishonesty highlights his truthfulness and brings him more glory?" So this is basically saying, how can you condemn a person if them being a sinner shows that they're lower than God already? And obviously, this is absolute foolishness because God calls us to not sin and to live above that. And even if we're trying not to sin, we're still going to sin. God's glory is going to be shown no matter what. So that is foolishness. The second highlight that I wanted to have is starting in verse 22. It says, "We are made right with God by placing our faith in Jesus Christ. And this is true for everyone who believes, no matter who we are. For everyone has sinned. We all fall short of God's glorious standard." This is a pretty popular verse, and that's kind of going back to what I was saying. We're all sinners. Even if you try not to sin, you're still going to sin, but you should keep trying. But we're all going to fall short of the glory of God. That's why he's God, and we're like dumb humans. Okay, my last highlight here is in verse 31. It says, "Well then, if we emphasize faith, does this mean that we can forget about the law? Of course not. In fact, only when we have faith do we truly fulfill the law." So a lot of people talk about the law and fulfilling the law. Remember, Jesus Christ already came and fulfilled the law for us, so we are not bound to the law. We also are literally incapable of following God's law because we're imperfect and we're sinners, just like this chapter says. But in the end here, it says that you can fulfill the law if you have true faith in Jesus Christ.